everyone. My name is Novera, and our presentation will be on whether adolescents should be allowed to drink.
Hi, my name is Nguyen. To drink or not to drink? Alcohol consumption among adolescents is a controversial issue in the United States. As a culturally diverse nation, we need to approach this issue from different perspectives. We will present you with multiple insights so you can be more informed and take the appropriate course of actions. Approaching alcohol use through multiple lenses can improve interventions. So Novera will present you with reasons why adolescents should not drink alcohol.
The article providing substance abuse prevention and treatment services to adolescents conducted by Sandra Brown in 2015 discusses the no position of the controversy. She elaborates the effects alcohol and drugs can have on teens. She answers whether early prevention can help avoid the harmful effects alcohol use can cause adolescents. And lastly, she includes the effects of physical, biological, intellectual, and emotional health. According to National Institute of Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism and National Institute on Drug Abuse, research shows that alcohol and other drug use usually have an early onset on individuals. They found that underage drinking is increasingly common in the United States. For example, 47% of 8th graders, 67% of 10th graders, and 78% of 12th graders have used alcohol. In addition, 30% of high school seniors reported binge drinking at least once a month. Numerous studies indicate the extreme effects of alcohol use are more harmful on the development of adolescents than it is to adults. This is due to changes that occur in the adolescent's brain as they are going through rapid biological, physical, and emotional development. Brown focused her neurocognitive research on important disadvantages alcohol and drug use causes the brain of adolescents compared to adolescents who abstain from drinking. She discovered that even after 3 weeks of abstinence, alcohol-dependent youth displayed 10% decrement in delayed memory functions. In addition, studies revealed that alcohol-dependent adolescents have reduced volume of hippocampus, white matter microstructure irregularities, abnormalities in cognitive function, loss of functioning in visual spatial tasks, frontal lobe damage, and poor spatial memory. Alcohol consumption not only affects the brain, but it also affects other regions of the body, such as it can cause heart attack and lung damages, lung infections, cancer, infertility, muscle cramps, malnutrition, and many more. Besides the never-ending body effects, alcohol can also affect your behavior. For instance, people dependent on alcohol have shown to be more aggressive, agitated, and compulsive. Results and conclusion. As we can see, Brown discovered that even after 3 weeks of abstinence, alcohol-dependent youth displayed 10% decrement in delayed memory function. Other epidemiology studies have shown beyond doubt that genes play a role in risk of alcohol, tobacco, and other drug dependence. Parents who are alcoholics are more likely to influence their children. Alcohol is also linked to genetics. Genetic factors help us assume whether the child will continue to be alcohol dependent or not. Therefore, parents who are alcohol dependent reinforce the likelihood of their children using substances as well. In the end of the study, Brown discusses the possible prevention and treatment programs that can help decrease the dangerous effects alcohol and drugs can have on adolescents. First, the universal prevention is a prevention that is appropriate for all children and teens. Next, a selective prevention is for subgroups with risk factors for abuse and/or dependence. Lastly, the indicative prevention is for groups who are high risk of disorders. These preventions are designed to prevent early onset of drinking to help adolescents guide themselves to better thinking and keeping themselves safe from alcohol and drug-related problems. Both National Institute of Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism and National Institute on Drug Abuse offer free educational materials designed to help students learn about the impact of alcohol and drugs on the brain and body. It is important that parents play an important role in the adolescents' lives when they are growing older, because they can help them avoid such harmful effects to their bodies. Here you will see a video discussing how alcohol affects the individual. Enjoy.
Adolescence is the transition from childhood to adulthood, encompassing a period of major physical, emotional, intellectual and social change. Our brains also change considerably during this time. The developing brain is a learning machine, and from when we're born, it grows enormously as we learn more and more about the world. This means we end up with billions of connections in our brains, but many of these pathways are either too slow or not needed. It's during the teenage years that our brains are renovated, whereby most of these unnecessary connections are removed or pruned away. At the same time, the connections that are kept are insulated to allow for faster communication across the brain, a process called myelination. Pruning and myelination occur gradually over the teenage years and are greatly influenced by our experiences and interactions with the outside world, including the alcohol and drugs we choose to take. Let's take a closer look inside the brain. The frontal lobes take the longest to develop. By about 25, they've become your centre for decision making, helping you to plan and organise, focus your attention, control your mood and behaviour, and solve day-to-day problems. The temporal lobes are like an information processing centre that builds your library for sounds, speech, learning and memories. The cerebellum integrates your senses, helping you to balance, control and fine-tune your movements. The hypothalamus is involved in many functions, including the release of hormones that help regulate your temperature, hunger, thirst, and sexual development. And the brainstem is like the final checkpoint for information going to the body from the brain and vice versa. Alcohol affects the teenage brain differently to the adult brain because it's still developing and not all areas are fully operational. How you feel when you drink alcohol can be an indication of the damage it's doing to different areas in your brain. Alcohol affects the frontal lobes first, making you feel relaxed and reducing your inhibitions. This means you may talk more freely, act loud or rowdy, or do foolish things you later regret. As you continue drinking, your brain starts slowing down, reducing your ability to concentrate, make good decisions, and control your emotions and impulses. This means you might do things you otherwise wouldn't. In the hypothalamus, alcohol blocks the hormone that tells the kidneys to reabsorb water. This means more water is lost as waste. Reducing the amount of water available to the brain makes you dehydrated, which explains the headaches and body aches you may experience the next day, otherwise known as a hangover. Alcohol's effect on your cerebellum is evident when you lose your balance and fall over, or have difficulties with standing and walking. This is why injuries are so common when people are intoxicated. Drinking alcohol particularly affects a part of the temporal lobe called the hippocampus, which enables us to form new memories. Alcohol interferes with the transfer of information from short-term memory to long-term memory. So if you drink heavily over a short period, you may experience a blackout, meaning the next day you can't remember what you said or did. Drinking at a level that causes blackouts means you're also much more likely to do something you wouldn't usually do, and your friends may not be aware of how drunk you really are. During your teenage years, you need to look after your brain to keep it healthy just like other parts of your body. Our scientists are learning more about the brain all the time, and research has shown that the damage alcohol does to the developing brain is not only short-term, but may be permanent. Look after your brain. It's the only one you've got.
Thank you for watching. Now, Nguyen will be um, discussing why adolescents should be able to drink alcohol. Thank you.
Thank you, Novera, for your insights. Hi, I am Hayen. Believe it or not, underage drinking is a controversial issue. So, why do adolescents drink? While there are vast majorities of study that delivers evidence about detrimental impacts of alcohol use, very few studies are available about the role that alcohol plays in social development. Alcohol use is a social norm. We see it at weddings, lounges, media, and advertisements, just to name a few. According to Engels and colleagues, 3 lines of research studied how alcohol use facilitates peer group interaction and social development. Adolescents are entertained by the social interactions. People who drink are perceived as more sociable. Individuals who drink are more sociable and are more likely to develop intimate relationships compared to those who don't. As you can see, alcohol is everywhere. We are here talking about it right now. It is endorsed by celebrities. It's on billboards. It is at the family dining table and at weddings. So research in the Netherlands conducted a study to show how alcohol relates to social development and peer relations. In this study, there were 3,361 adolescents with the age ranging from 12 years to 18 years. Teens were categorized in one of 5 groups based on their personalities and how their personalities were perceived by their peers. Peer group reputation includes aggression, inattentiveness, achievement withdrawal, self-confident, sociability, and emotionality nervousness. Substance use, like the amount of cigarettes and glasses of alcohol, were calculated for each group. The results for the individual groups of this research concluded that there is a positive correlation between substance use and adolescents characterized as self-confident, sociable, and aggressive and attentive. To have a better understanding between the relationship of alcohol use and personality characteristics, the researchers also examined substance abuse use with clustered characteristics. So the groups that were most likely to engage in alcohol use and smoking were the teens who were categorized as self-confident and sociable. In addition, the peer groups that were aggressive inattentiveness and emotionality nervousness were also likely to engage in substance use. The teen groups that were least likely to drink or smoke were the teens characterized as emotionality nervousness and achievement withdrawal. So what does this all mean? The legal age to drink in the Netherlands is 16 years old, meaning that this research was performed on teens who were consuming alcohol legally. Alcohol use is present among various adolescents who are confident and sociable, but they were also present among teens who were emotionally insecure. So the most problematic is binge drinking among adolescents. However, other factors are also involved with binge drinking. For example, depression, low self-esteem, and family problems, and genetics, just to name a few. So, addressing alcohol use alone among individuals who binge is only addressing part of the solution. Let's hear what the Today Show on NBC has to say about parents who are allowing their teens to drink at home in the US.
Back now at 8:10 this morning on today's parenting, a volatile issue when it comes to teens and alcohol. How do you teach your kids to drink responsibly? For some, the answer is to let them try a little alcohol at home. Here's NBC's Lee Cowan.
For all the proven dangers of alcohol, especially drinking and driving, we are, it seems, only taught half the equation. Because while the law requires we learn how to drive, it does not require we learn how to drink.
It's kind of frightening to think about that you're going out there in this world experimenting at age 21.
These days, that experimenting is happening much earlier. In fact, 11% of all the alcohol consumed in this country is by those under 21. 6% of 12 to 14-year-olds say that they've had a drink in the past month. That's 700,000 kids. The question is, where did they get that drink?
It was a lot of fun, but I kind of knew how to not go too far.
We gathered a group of college students together to ask where they began drinking. The resounding answer, with their parents.
They would give me alcohol at home first in small doses, like a glass of wine, maybe a beer with dinner or something like that.
I think in my house it was always kind of a more socially acceptable thing that you start drinking at home when you're younger.
Well, it taught me responsibility for the most part.
It's a touchy subject and not all parents agree.
Laws are put in place for a good reason.
Terry Moran's kids have never had a drop of alcohol at home and won't, he says, until they're legal.
Kids start thinking that, hey, if my parents think it's okay, then I could just go and I can experiment and hang out with my friends and drink. And I see it happening all the time.
The argument for allowing drinking at home goes like this. First, it's better to have kids learn their tolerance in a caring environment, at home, not a bar. Second, making alcohol accessible makes it less of a taboo.
Some parents may say, you're not allowed to do this ever, we're not even going to talk about it, we're not going to try it, you just can't do it. So I think,
First thing on your mind after
yeah,
that.
I want to try it, I can't do it, well, why can't I do it? What is it about it that they don't want me, to find out about?
The downside, though, some experts say exposing teens to alcohol only increases the chances of binge drinking, even alcoholism later on. But many experts say the research is inconclusive at best.
I don't think there's a right answer, but if you ask me which I think is better, I think it's really, really important for parents to teach their kids to drink responsibly.
It is a personal decision that we found very few parents want to talk about. No one wants to be accused of contributing to the abuse of alcohol, but just as many say demystifying alcohol may actually take away some of its power. For today, Lee Cowan, NBC News, Los Angeles.
Dr. Janet Taylor is a psychiatrist. Ann Choquette is the editor-in-chief of 17 magazine. Ladies, good morning to both of you.
Morning.
My kids are too young. I'll have to deal with this in a few years, but what do you think? What do you think the right answer is?
Well, I think we're really talking about parents supplying alcohol where you throw your kids in the basement, take the keys, and give them booze, which, in my opinion, is not the right thing to do, versus sitting down and really discussing clear rules with your child, what your expectations are, and letting them know you're going to monitor their activities, which you have to do for teenagers.
Well, so you're sitting around the family dinner table and wine is being served and you have a 15-year-old there. Do you think it's okay to serve that 15-year-old a glass of wine, not smell it and take a sip, a glass of wine to give that 15-year-old some idea of what it's like to drink?
You know what's really surprising? We did a poll. 25% of 17 readers say that their parents let them drink at home. But what they're learning is not necessarily how to drink. What they're learning is trust. They say that it's amazing that their parents trust them to behave responsibly in the house and when they're out of the house.
But are there any studies that say those children who are allowed to drink that glass of wine at home then don't go out and experiment just as hard with their friends who are underage?
Well, I think that absolutely we need to be worried about those parties, that experimenting, the binge drinking is really a problem. And teenagers who want to get access to alcohol will get access to alcohol.
And the studies are inconclusive. And what we're talking about, it's different if you're talking about sitting around and you're monitoring, yes, they can have a sip. Do I say give your child a whole glass of wine just so they can know what it's like? No. But binge drinking is different. Excessive drinking is different. What we really want to do is stop binge drinking in high school, because those binge drinkers in high school are more likely to binge drink in college. but it gets back to the quality of the relationship and how much communication is happening at home.
By the way, the laws are not ambiguous on this. In all 50 states, 21 is the legal age for drinking. However, though, even as I say that, 31 states do allow parents to provide alcohol to minors. So, I do worry that if you're saying to your child, if you're not in one of those 31 states, if you're one of the states where it's 21 or nothing, and you're saying, yeah, but it's okay here at home, you're saying some laws are meant to be broken.
Well, the issue is we are really trying to look at the task of life in terms of driving a car, learning how to ride a bike, with the task of drinking responsible. Our goal as parents is to teach our kids to make responsible decisions under high emotion and high pressure, which is what most of our teenagers are dealing with. You don't have to sit with a glass of wine and your child to do that.
Right. When do you think, what is the proper age, do you think, Anne, to have this to initiate this kind of conversation with your kids?
It's a lot younger than you think it is. The pressures that these kids feel at parties are phenomenal. And it starts really early. I think the first time that your teen is going to a party where you think there could be drinking, where it's going to be a wild situation, that's the time to have the conversation.
It's even before high school. I mean, it's really middle school, because it's about teaching choices and responsible decision making.
In the 30 seconds I have left, let me quickly bring up one other concept. There are some parents who say, okay, my kids can invite 10 kids over and I'm going to let them all drink. You're not supposed to be a parent for someone else's kid.
Absolutely.
That's a very personal decision.
And I have 4 daughters, and my youngest is 17, and I told my older ones, if you're in the house and a parent lets you drink, that parent's going to deal with me. That is not a kid issue. That's a parent-to-parent issue. And we have to take responsibility for what we're allowing to happen in our own homes.
Anne and Janet, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
So how does this relate to us? As the population in the United States continues to grow, and to be more culturally diverse, it is important to take a look at what other cultures are doing. The United States have similar trends to that of the studies in the Netherlands. However, the legal age to consume alcohol in the United States is 21. This law failed to resolve the issue of underage drinking. Adolescents are smart. They have access to vast majority of information, and this can lead to being misinformed, to not being informed, and being overly informed. They will have certain questions like, why is the legal age to vote, buy cigarettes, and serve in the military 18, but to consume alcohol is 21? And is there much of a difference between drinking at 20 compared to being 21? We have plenty of explanations to explain why a teenager should not drink, but these are valid questions. So we have to have alternatives and interventions. Allowing adolescents to drink does not mean take your teenagers to the bars and nightclubs and get wasted. What this is doing is giving the adolescents a sense of autonomy, an opportunity to practice decision-making and create boundaries for themselves. This allows to open up communication, and at the meantime, we can focus on attention and selective and indicative treatment for high-risk individuals. So in conclusion, there is no one-size-fits-all approach to underage drinking. We need to be one step ahead of social media, one step ahead of advertisement companies and political agendas. To be successful, interventions must be tailored to the situation, culture, and personality of the adolescents. Thank you very much for tuning in with us today. I hope that you have found this information useful. Keep calm, stay healthy, and happy.
Hello, this is Novera again, and I hope you all had a great time listening to our talk. Thank you again for tuning in. Bye-bye.